Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to continue with the previous lecture. We had done till up to here. You can see from the previous slides that we had done the two questions, one from the GATE 2017 and one from the NET June 2015. Alright, and today what we are going to do, first of all we will see the energy for the systems having distinguishable particles and for the system having indistinguishable particles. We will see whether that average energy for both of the system, one having indistinguishable particles and other having distinguishable particles, and we will try to correlate the relation. Alright, so let's start. So we know one of the basic formula which we are studying is from the starting, that is the this one, that the Nj upon N, that is the formula for the probability also. Alright, so this gives you this one, but this for the ensemble, I am saying for the system, because you will having the system. So what I had written down in the heading, that the dominating configuration ensembles. For the ensembles we are writing this expression. So for ensemble is actually a macro state which comprises a lot of microstates which all defining all possibilities of the microstate, and then it constitutes a macro state. Alright, so those things are different, all what I had covered in the previous videos. So today I am now talking about the ratio of the population of the at the jth state and at the total n. So here what is interesting, that you can see that here I had written Ej and in the bracket n. Alright, so it means that for the system having n particles, we will be considering the energy of all n particles, and we will calculate Ejn, as you can see from here, like Ej1 for the first particle, for the second particle, and we will add all the energies of all the corresponding particles, and then finally we will end up with the total energy of the system having n particles. Alright, so the partition function for the ensemble, what would be the partition function for this ensemble? Nothing different, you have to just put the energy of whole of the system containing n particles, and rest of the things will be same. So this here we had just replaced Ej with Ej of n, and rest of the things are same. So this is the partition function for ensembles, and this is the ratio of the population, or say probability of the jth state, Alright, now from here you can see that if we have a Qn in the small letters, it is actually depicting, or it's denoting the molecular properties, and if we have the those characters in the capital, then actually it is denoting the property of the ensembles. Alright, but more precisely, if I say the Q would be more general form than Q. Why? Because it does not contain the exponential terms, because in small character Q raised to the power n and upon n factorial, so this will become quite little bit, but no worry, whatever you prefer, just you have to kept these things in your mind, so that whenever you will be dealing with the questions, there you will not get stuck. Alright, now Q, that is the partition function for the ensembles. So in the ensembles there are the microstates in which the number of particles are there. Alright, so the particles when we will study the nature of the particles, then we come up like those particles are like, first of all, interacting, means if there are some of the atoms which are actually interacting and some are which are actually not interacting. So for the interacting systems we will not doing anything. For the interacting system there are the other separate methods. Those will be the experimental methods by which you will be getting your data and results. So more precisely, if I say what we will be going to do in this chapter is to study the non-interacting systems, and there are the two possibilities in the non-interacting itself. Is that the first one is that the particles can be distinguishable, and the other one is that the particles cannot be distinguishable. The particles can be distinguishable and the particles cannot be distinguishable. So as I had already told, if we will introduce the concept of indistinguishability, then we have to just divide by the term with n factorial, and we will automatically get the concept of the indistinguishability. Alright, so from here you can see in this slide you can see if we have the particles are distinguishable, then we will take q, that the capital Q equals to small q raised to the power n. At the same time, if you have the indistinguishable particles, the particles cannot be distinguishable. So for those systems you will be having the q equals to qn upon n factorial. So example of non-interacting and indistinguishable particles are the ideal gas molecules. Ideal gas molecules. In the container, if you have the ideal gas molecules, then those particles are not interacting, and if they are not interacting and they cannot be distinguished, because these are ideal, those cannot be distinguished. So there we will apply or implement the this formula for the partition function for whole of the system. We will take we will use this formula. Alright, now what for this as I have already told you, that if the particles are interacting, the value will be given using type of interaction and theoretically or say experimentally. So this is not in our topic now. Now from here you can see mean energy of the system. Mean energy is actually the average energy of the system. So here we will only having the, as we know the formula for the average energy, so we have to just substitute the small q with the capital Q, and then you will get the average energy for the system. And you just need to keep in mind the how to find out the capital Q. If you will be able to know that I will just putting and substituting this values and able to find out the Q, then you are the winner. You will be easily reaching to the solution. No worry, you will use this formula, you will not get stuck anywhere. Now as what I had said in the beginning of the video, that we will try to elucidate that what are the average energy for the distinguishable and for the indistinguishable particles. So first, starting with the distinguishable and particles, we will put the q equals to q raised to the power n, and when we will take the ln capital Q, then it becomes n ln small q. So we know the energy formula. From this energy formula, that the ln minus of del ln q upon del beta at constant volume, and when you will put n ln q in the place of capital Q, you will end up with this expression, and you just need to take the n outside and differentiate ln q with respect to beta, and this actual the term which we left, that minus del ln q upon del beta, this is actually the average energy of the molecule. This is actually the average energy of the molecule. So the average energy of the system average energy of the system will be the n times of average energy of the per molecule. Alright, so this is the concept which we had derived for the distinguishable n particles, and now we will be going to look for the indistinguishable particles. What will happen, or what the changes we will see in the indistinguishable particles, whether we will going to change, whether we will be going to see the change or we will not going to see a change. So let's see. So yeah, independent, here you can see what is written here: independent, indistinguishable and identical particles. So actually, if you see, for the indistinguishability, if we will introduce, we will need to divide with n factorial. So here the formula for the partition function for whole of the system, the partition function formula for whole of the system will be this. And if we will take the ln on the both side, then ln qn upon n factorial becomes ln n will go to the front side and n ln q, and divided the factor in the denominator will come with a negative sign with ln. So n ln q minus ln n factorial will be the required, will be the output. And when we will put the average energy average energy of the system, then we will get we have to just put the q value, or say ln q value, and you will get this one. And when you will differentiate, you will see this value becomes as what in the previous we had got, and this extra value which here we are getting. So actually n factorial is actually a constant value, and when you will differentiate with respect to beta, it will become 0. Alright, so this whole factor will become 0, and you will left with this whole value, and which you got in the previous derivation which we had done. So when you will put the inner value as E molecule, so you will end up with this. So what we can conclude that for distinguishable, either the particles are distinguishable or for the particles are indistinguishable, the average energy of the system is same. Average energy of the system will be same, and this is quite logical. Why I am saying this is logical? Because the particles, whatever whether they are differentiable, whether can be distinguishable or not, the energy is quite a different concept. The energy is quite a different concept, which is independent, which is purely independent whether Alright, so average energy is quite a different concept, which is quite very different from whether the particles are differentiable or not differentiable. It has no relation. That's why it is quite logical also. Alright, now we are going to start the thermodynamic properties, or say for the thermodynamic functions. So this is quite a new topic we have done with the molecular average energy, and from now onwards we will going to implement all those fundamentals which we had read earlier. Alright, so this is the thermodynamic properties, and I would just like to classify the properties so that you people get a very clear understanding about it. So try to understand. There are two types of thermodynamic properties we can classify. Try to understand. One can be measurable and the other one cannot be measurable. One can be measurable and other one cannot be measurable. So measurable are the very simple properties like temperature we see, pressure we see, volume we see, which we can directly measure. You will put the thermometer in the your container in the sample, and you will get the temperature, what the temperature of the sample it has. So you what I actually wants to say here, like we can directly measure the temperature of the system. So that actually depicting here that it is a measurable quantity. Isn't all right? Okay. So if the other classification, that is unmeasurable. The main thing resides and belongs to here. Please try to coordinate with me. The other property that I am here sharing you, that is the unmeasurable properties. Unmeasurable, in the unmeasurable properties there are two types of properties are also here. It is very clear that we cannot measure directly these properties. We cannot measure directly. Try to understand, we cannot measure it directly. So after classification we got two different sections. Like first is the fundamental properties. Fundamental properties are those properties which came or which quite related from the laws of the thermodynamics, which came from the laws of thermodynamics, like the entropy or say an internal energy, which originate from the laws of the thermodynamics. So these are definitely these are immeasurable. We cannot measure it directly. We can just see the change. We can just see the change. We cannot measure it directly. Try to understand. For a reaction, you will say that the internal energy of the system is this. That means you are actually writing that for this particular reaction, the change of the internal energy is this. You cannot tell the absolute value of the internal energy of any of the system. That's why I'm saying all these properties are immeasurable. You cannot measure it directly. You can just see the change. So the two properties which came from the laws of the thermodynamics, that first one is the internal energy and the second one is the entropy. So the classification in which I had told the fundamental, the other one is the derived property. Derived means which we had derived from the laws of the thermodynamics by using measurable properties. What here written here is specific relations which include combination of measurable and fundamental properties. So these are the fundamental properties that like U and S, and at the same time you will be going to use these measurable quantity. When you will mix up the measurable quantity with the fundamental quantity, you will end up with the derived quantity or say derived properties. So here you can see A, H and G gives Helmholtz energy and the enthalpy and the Gibbs energy. All these three functions or the energies or the properties are directly relating or directly saying that these are the derived properties, because these are derived from the measurable and from the fundamental. As you can see from here, from the with the A we are using H. H actually contains U. So U is the internal energy, which is the fundamental property. Also minus T into S. So temperature is actually the measurable quantity. So that is why I am saying, that is why I am saying these equations are actually the results of the measurable and the fundamental properties. Alright. If you see the second example, that the H equals to U plus PV, so H is the enthalpy, and which is actually also the function of the U, that is here written U, that is the fundamental property, and plus PV, P and V are the pressure and volumes, and which are the measurable properties. So actually this equation also comprises of the fundamental and the measurable properties. So that's why here I am saying these are the derived properties. You will going to get a lot of help from this classification. I am just affirming and assuring you. Alright. So don't worry. Similarly in the third equation you can see. Alright. Now moving ahead. Just start with the internal energy. Let's start with the internal energy. So internal energy U. Internal energy U is just I will say it later, but what we had read in the previous slides, up to the previous slides, that the energy of the system is n times of the energy of the molecules, that is the average energy of the molecule, and after all you will get the average energy of the system. It's all right. Now try to understand, this average energy of the molecule is actually the energy of the molecule with 0 point energy. This is actually the energy of the system having 0 point of energy. And we have also one relation which actually comprises the average energy for the system with 0 point energy and for the system without 0 point energy, and the relation is being shown to you. So try to focus here that average energy for the system having with 0 point energy, and that also we are calling it E average of molecule, and it is actually the E naught plus average energy of without 0 point energy. Isn't clear to you or not? I hope that you people will get clear of all these concepts. Now moving ahead, putting the value of the E without 0 point energy or the molecule, we know this formula. We know this formula for the average energy, and here we have just Q without 0 point with 0 point energy. Alright, and for the without 0 point energy, the formula would be just this. We have to just replace the Q without 0 point energy. Alright, now as combining these two equations, the first two equations, when we will combine, or say put the value of the E average of molecule in the first equation, what we will going to get, we will get this equation. You can see from here n times of in the inside of the bracket E naught plus E average of without 0 point energy. Alright, now doing some simple mathematics, you can obtain this equation by just multiplying the n in the inner variables, or the inner E naught and E without 0 point energy, and you will see that this n E naught is actually the ground state energy. N is the number of molecules in the ground state, and E naught is the and E naught would be the energy of the ground state. So this is actually the ground state energy, and this is you can see from here that this n E naught is the ground state energy, and this is the actual energy of the system if you will keep the temperature of the system 0 degree Kelvin. So I mean to say that for the system at the temperature 0 Kelvin, the energy of the system will be n E naught. Alright, now this energy, average energy of the system, which actually equals to this n E naught plus n times of E average without 0 point energy. So this average energy of the system is actually the internal energy, and we are denoting it with U. So that is the actual internal energy, and represented by U equals to, and this n E naught is the energy of the system, or say system at temperature 0. That means we can say that it is the internal energy at 0 degree Kelvin. That is why here we are writing it U, and inside of bracket 0 plus n times of E without 0 point energy. Alright, so this is the form which is written in the Atkins book also, but in the one other book, that is the Thomson and Angel Reid, they had written like in this way, U equals to n times of E average of the molecule. So here it just means that it is the average energy for the system with 0 point energy, and when you will split it in the terms of 0 point energy and system average energy without 0 point energy, what the formula I had used earlier in the beginning when I was deriving this expression. So when you will use that, then you will get the same formula which is actually given in the Atkins. Alright, so we had now derived the formula for the internal energy. Alright, so now one question, that will internal energy changes with changing the ground state energy? The question is that will the internal energy of the system changes if you will change the ground state energy? So the answer is yes. Why I am saying yes? Because if you see the internal energy expression, it actually comprises the ground state energy. It actually comprises the ground state energy, and when you will change this energy, this value, your total value will get changed. That is why here I am saying that the internal energy changes with change in the ground state energy. Alright, so if the internal energy is changing, if internal energy, that is U, is changing, so all the relations which contains U, so all the relations which contains U will change if the ground state energy will change. If the ground state of energy will change, then all the relations which contains U, or say internal energy, will change. Is this thing clear to you or not? I hope that this is a very quite fascinating topic, because we have preconceived thoughts or preconceived concepts that are completely broken down, a new concept and a new way I am just here establishing. So try to coordinate and try to match up the frequency so that you will learn a lot, because these are the very wonderful concepts. Because that is why I had classified this AHG in the derived properties, so that you can get a lot of taste and a lot of ideas, and then when I will deal with other properties, and then you will definitely going to enjoy a lot. So I am just ending up this video at here only, because for the today's video I think it's quite sufficient, and in the next video I will be going to start from here, and you can see here. So till the next video, see you, have a good day, enjoy, and see you, bye bye.